She was just an ordinary waitress, until she saw a childhood photo of herself hanging inside a millionaire's mansion owned by a powerful family. She had never set foot in that place. So why was her picture on their wall? In that very moment, a forgotten past began to resurface. A family once declared dead, a mother hidden away for over 2 decades, and a powerful uncle who buried the truth to steal everything for himself. Maya Ellison thought it would be just another night serving champagne to the elite at a lavish estate she could never afford to dream of. But as she walked past a quiet hallway in the Ellison mansion, something stopped her dead in her tracks. A black and white photo framed on the wall showed a little girl smiling sweetly. It was innocent, unassuming, but Maya froze. Her tray trembled in her hands. Her heart pounded, because that little girl was her. How could her childhood photo be hanging inside a billionaire's home she'd never set foot in? She didn't come here to search for answers, but the moment she saw that photo, she knew someone was hiding the truth. Someone very powerful. And if she wanted to uncover it, she'd have to risk everything. What Maya was about to discover would shatter a family legacy, expose a deadly cover-up, and lead to the most emotional reunion you'll ever witness. You won't believe where this story goes. Stay tuned to the end, because the final twist will leave you speechless. Maya had worked dozens of events before, but none quite like this. As she stepped out of the catering van, Maya tightened the straps on her apron and took a breath. Just another shift, she whispered to herself, masking the nerves fluttering in her stomach. At 23, Maya was no stranger to hard work. Raised by adoptive parents who struggled to make ends meet, she'd been juggling 2 jobs since she was 17. Tonight's gig, serving at an exclusive gala hosted by the influential Ellison family, was meant to be just another paycheck. But from the moment she stepped through the back entrance of the estate, something felt off. Mr. Dorsey, the stern head butler, greeted her with cold efficiency. No talking to guests. Eyes down. Do your job right, and you'll leave with your pay. She nodded, clutching the silver tray tighter. As the sun dipped behind the trees, guests began to pour in. Powerful politicians, CEOs, socialites dressed in designer gowns. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above the ballroom like frozen stars. A string quartet played softly in the corner, and the air was thick with money and secrets. Maya wove through the crowd offering champagne and hors d'oeuvres. She tried to focus, but something about the house gnawed at her. A strange tension lingered, like a whisper just out of earshot. And then she saw it. A narrow corridor that branched off from the main hall, dimly lit and seemingly forgotten. She knew she shouldn't. The rules were clear: stay in the service areas. But curiosity tugged at her stronger than reason. Glancing around to make sure no one was watching, Maya slipped down the hallway. The lights were soft, almost antique, casting long shadows on the walls. Portraits of solemn men and elegant women lined the hallway, members of the Ellison lineage, no doubt. And then she stopped. Midway down the corridor hung a single photo in a thin black frame. A picture of a young girl, no older than 5. Her brown hair curled around her cheeks, her eyes large, expressive, and unmistakably familiar. Locked with Maya's. She staggered backward. It was her. Maya stared in disbelief. There was no mistaking it. The dress, the dimples, the small scar above the eyebrow she'd had since childhood. This photo, taken years before she'd been adopted, was of her as a little girl. But how? Why was it here? She had never set foot in this house in her life. The sound of footsteps snapped her back to reality. In a rush, she darted back toward the ballroom, her heart pounding in her chest. She resumed serving drinks, but the weight of the discovery clung to her like a shadow. Her hands trembled as she placed flutes on tables. The smiles of the guests blurred into the background. Her mind replayed the image again and again. Who had placed that photo in the hallway, and what did it mean? She needed answers. But who could she ask without sounding insane? Later that night, during a brief pause in the kitchen, Maya struck up a quiet conversation with Louisa, the estate's longtime cook. You've worked here a long time, right? Maya asked as casually as she could. Long enough to have more secrets than recipes. Louisa chuckled, dicing carrots with practiced precision. And the Ellison family, have they always lived here? Maya asked. Oh, honey, this estate's been in their bloodline for generations, Louisa replied, wiping her hands. Victor Langford inherited it after his brother Jonas and sister-in-law passed in an accident. Tragic story. Maya froze. His brother died in an accident? Louisa nodded. Car crash, years ago. People say it was just bad luck, but who really knows? The pit in Maya's stomach deepened. That night, back at her small apartment in Edgewood, she lay awake in bed. Her adoptive parents were asleep, unaware of the storm brewing inside her. Her thoughts raced. If the girl in the photo was really her, then why was it hanging in a house owned by Victor Langford? And if he was connected to her in any way, why had no one ever told her? Sleep didn't come easy. The next evening, Maya returned to the estate under the guise of another catering job. But her true goal was clear. She needed to find that photo again. She waited until a lull in the festivities and slipped back down the mysterious hallway. But this time, the wall was empty. The photo was gone. What would you do if you found a childhood photo of yourself in a stranger's mansion? Do you think Victor Langford knows who Maya really is? Could Maya be connected to the powerful Ellison family by blood? Comment your theories below. If you were Maya, would you dig deeper or walk away? Drop a yes in the comments if you'd go back for answers. Maya stood frozen in front of the empty wall. The black framed photo was gone, vanished, as if it had never existed. Her breath caught in her throat. She rubbed her eyes, half wondering if it had all been in her head. But no. She remembered every detail of that picture. That little girl smiling at the camera. It was her. She knew it. Why would someone remove it? Did they see her looking at it? A chilling thought ran through her mind. Someone knew she had been snooping. Swallowing her panic, Maya returned to the kitchen and forced herself to finish her shift. But every clink of silverware and every pair of eyes that glanced her way now felt like a threat. She left the Ellison estate that night with a head full of questions and a heart pounding with dread. The next morning, she sat at the breakfast table with her adoptive mom, Gloria, who had just poured her coffee. Maya stirred the mug absent-mindedly, staring into the swirl of cream. Mom, do you remember where I came from before the adoption? Gloria paused mid-sip. That's a strange question, honey. Why do you ask? I just feel like there's something missing, Maya said slowly. I saw a photo last night that looked exactly like me as a child, in a house I've never been to before. Gloria's hands trembled slightly as she set the mug down. Maya, you know we never got much information. You were found in a shelter when you were around 5. They told us your parents died in an accident. But that's all they said. Maya's heart dropped. An accident? A car accident. Yes, I think that's what the social worker told us. Why? The coincidence was too much. She couldn't ignore it anymore. Later that week, Maya returned to the estate under another catering assignment. She needed to get back inside to uncover the truth. She wasn't sure how far she'd go, but she had to try. While the guests mingled and the orchestra played, Maya navigated the mansion like a ghost. Every chandelier, every oil painting seemed to watch her. She took her time observing the staff. If someone had removed the photo, they'd know something. Maybe they were hiding more. In the staff hallway, she found Elias, one of the longtime security guards. He was quiet but polite, a man who had likely seen it all. She approached during a coffee break. You've worked here a long time, haven't you? She asked. 23 years, he replied with a grunt. Back before Mr. Victor even inherited the place. Maya hesitated. Do you remember what happened to his brother? Elias raised an eyebrow, his eyes narrowing. Jonas? Yeah, he and his wife died in a crash. Everyone said it was an accident. Did they have a daughter? She asked, barely breathing. He looked away for a moment, then leaned in. Rumors say they had a kid. A little girl. Disappeared around the same time. Some say she died with them. Others say she was taken somewhere. Maya's chest tightened. It's me, she wanted to scream. But she held it in. Why all the secrecy? She asked. Elias' voice dropped. Because people around here don't ask questions. He glanced around. Victor took control of everything after the crash. Fast. Too fast. And when folks started digging, they either quit or got quiet real quick. That night, Maya's world tilted further. What Elias said haunted her. If she was Jonas Ellison's daughter, why had her life been erased from the family's history? Why hadn't Victor looked for her? Or, had he? She needed more. The next day, Maya arranged to meet a retired staff member who used to work in the estate. Bella, a housekeeper with a reputation for being sharp and fiercely loyal to Jonas. Maya had tracked her down through a mutual connection and visited her in a small home just outside Victorton. Bella welcomed her with a warm smile but cautious eyes. Maya, right? I heard you've been working at the estate. Yes, ma'am, Maya replied. I needed to ask you something about the accident and about a little girl. Bella's face turned pale. Oh, child, that house is still breathing old ghosts. I think I'm one of them. I think I'm one of them too, Maya said softly. Bella sat down slowly. I remember you. You were 5. Your mama called you Ray. You used to dance around the garden in a yellow dress. Jonas adored you. So did Celeste. Maya's throat tightened. So what happened? Why don't I remember any of it? Bella looked her dead in the eyes. Because Victor made sure you wouldn't. A silence fell over the room, thick with truth. After the crash, you disappeared. The authorities said the girl died too, but your body was never found. And then Victor, he took over the estate, the companies, everything. Rumor was, he paid off people, cleaned the past. Maya stared at her own trembling hands. Her childhood hadn't been lost, it had been stolen. I found a photo of me in the estate, she whispered, but it disappeared. Bella sighed. Then he knows. Victor always had eyes everywhere. Maya's mind spun. All these years, she'd lived thinking she was unwanted, abandoned. But now she knew the truth had been buried deliberately. The next time she stepped into the estate, Maya no longer felt like a server. She felt like someone reclaiming what was rightfully hers. If you were Maya and discovered your childhood photo in a billionaire's mansion, would you confront the powerful man who possibly stole your past? Type yes in the comments if you would. No, if you'd walk away quietly. Maya returned to the Ellison estate with her heart pounding and a single mission echoing in her mind. Find the safe, uncover the truth, and expose Victor Langford. Every room in that mansion now felt haunted by silence, by secrets, by the weight of her stolen past. She had discovered that Victor had hidden everything. The truth about the crash that killed her parents, the erasure of her identity, and perhaps even clues to her mother's fate. But Bella had given her one last lead, Victor's private study. That was where he kept everything valuable, including a hidden safe. She waited for the perfect opportunity. It came 2 days later. Victor left the mansion for a business trip, according to chatter among the staff. The estate was quiet. Maya put on her catering uniform as usual, but had no intention of serving cocktails that night. Instead, she slipped away and made her way to the 3rd floor, toward Victor's forbidden study. The door creaked open. Dust particles floated in the golden sunlight pouring through tall windows. The room smelled of cigar smoke and aged wood. A massive mahogany desk stood at the center. Bookshelves lined the walls. And in the corner, barely visible behind a painting, Maya found it. The safe. She pushed the painting aside, revealing a digital lock. Her fingers trembled. She remembered what Elias had told her. Victor never forgot the day his brother died. The date of the accident. She punched in the numbers. April 9th, 2005. Click. The lock released. The door opened with a heavy groan. Inside were documents, ledgers, flash drives, and an old envelope. Maya grabbed everything she could, stuffing it into her bag. But it was the envelope that made her hands freeze. It was addressed in delicate handwriting. To my daughter, Ray. Her knees buckled. Tears formed in her eyes as she carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. My sweet Ray, if you are reading this, it means the worst has happened. Your father and I knew we were in danger, and we tried everything to protect you. If anything happens to us, promise me you'll grow up safe. Victor, your uncle, is not who he pretends to be. He wants the inheritance, the control, the name. Don't trust him. But never forget who you are, Ray. Evelyn Ellison. You are our daughter, our everything. Love, Mom. Maya broke down, clutching the letter to her chest. Everything was real. Her parents had feared this. Her uncle had taken it all and erased her like she never existed. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from the hallway. She stuffed the documents into her bag and closed the safe. But it was too late. The door opened. Victor stood there, his cold eyes locking onto hers. Well, he said slowly, voice like steel, I was wondering when you'd come looking for answers. Maya stood tall, though her body shook. I know everything. I know what you did to my parents. And I know who I am. Victor laughed, the sound bitter. You think anyone will believe a girl from a shelter over me? You were a mistake, Ray. Just like your father, too soft to lead this family. Victor's voice dripped with venom. I have proof, she snapped, holding her ground. Documents. Letters. The truth. I'm going to the press. His expression darkened. Then you're not walking out of here. In that instant, Maya bolted. She ran down the hall as Victor shouted for his security. Adrenaline flooded her body as she tore through the mansion's corridors, gripping the bag like her life depended on it. Because it did. She burst through the back door and sprinted to her car. Tires screeched as she pulled away, her heart racing. Behind her, Victor stood in the driveway, watching her go. But she had the upper hand now. The next day, Maya met with an investigative journalist who had been chasing whispers about the Ellison family for years. She handed over the documents, the letter, and the truth. Within 48 hours, headlines exploded. Scandal at the Ellison estate. CEO under investigation for inheritance fraud and cover-up of family tragedy. The media swarmed. Victor's empire began to crumble. And for the first time, Maya felt like she could breathe. But the story wasn't over. A week later, a breaking news segment aired footage of a woman being escorted out of a private psychiatric clinic just outside Nashville. She looked frail, with graying hair and distant eyes, but Maya knew that face. It was her mother. She dropped everything and raced to the clinic. When she walked into the room and saw the woman seated by the window, Maya could barely speak. Mom, she whispered. The woman turned, eyes widening. Ray. Tears flowed freely as they embraced, two souls torn apart by greed, finally reunited. The doctors said her mother had suffered trauma-induced amnesia. Victor had hidden her away, claiming she had died. But Maya's courage had brought the truth to light. Maya later testified in court against Victor. Her story and the documents led to his arrest and conviction. The Ellison name, once synonymous with wealth and prestige, now became a cautionary tale of betrayal and justice. But Maya didn't take back the estate or the fortune. She wanted something more valuable: peace, truth, and time with her mother. They moved to a quiet town in Vermont and opened a community center for orphans and displaced children, giving others the home she never had. And every morning, as Maya watched the sunrise with her mother at her side, she whispered to herself, I'm finally free. What do you think about Maya's story? Was justice truly served? If this story moved you or kept you on the edge of your seat, drop a comment below and share your thoughts.